What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by, at least right now, one guest, but Dom is coming, and we are here to talk about Life is Strange Reunion. We only got, 6 days? We cut this pretty darn close, but we are insane. Me and Willow here have been just going off the last little while, talking everything Life is Strange Reunion, and we're probably going to repeat some of that stuff with you guys as well. Of course, an amazing guest, a guy that, I did this with before with Double Exposure. Great guy, great creator on social media. His links in the description. Willow, thank you for being here. Welcome in. Do you want to just say how we're feeling to start?
Well, thank you for having me, number one. And number two, I am just so excited for this game, 100%, like way more than Double Exposure, because of course we have Chloe back, and seeing how this is going to conclude the story of Max and Chloe is a huge thing for me. I just want to see how it ends and how different their dynamic is going to be in this game, because they used to be teenagers, now they're adults. It's going to be, yeah, it's just so exciting.
So, well, that's a good point that you mentioned too, with and something we didn't talk about before the stream. So I was playing Before the Storm, and I actually really think they've nailed kind of historically writing the ages. I think the one nitpick I'd have is when in the farewell episode, when they're trying to write them as 8-year-olds doing the recording for the pirate thing. That's probably not how 8-year-olds would talk. But beyond that, they've done like 13-year-olds really well. They've done 15-year-olds. Now, they're actually around my age, late 20s, early 30s. I'm really excited to see them, at this part of their life. And now you mentioned Double Exposure. So beyond Chloe, or I guess just taking it like that, why are you more excited? Slash, how do you think, or do you think they'll do a better job here?
Because I feel like with Double Exposure, I was excited to just see Max again and see how that played out. And of course, there's a lot of flaws with Double Exposure in terms of like the plot and pacing and stuff like that, like as we've come to find out. But I feel
Yeah.
like having Reunion, it makes Double Exposure seem like it was a means to an end. Like the entire purpose of Double Exposure was to birth Reunion and to
Yeah.
explain why Chloe's back with like the timeline merge and at the end of Double Exposure and all that stuff. I feel like the main focus that they had was to get Reunion out there, and they needed Double Exposure to be like, okay, well, we have Chloe back. How do we explain it? Okay, we'll write it in Double Exposure. Oh,
Yeah.
this location, all these characters that we have to have the people care about in Reunion. Okay, we'll write it in Double Exposure. Like it feels like they just needed Double Exposure to explain a lot of Reunion, and the
Yeah.
fact that this is the end of Max and Chloe's story as they advertised it, to me, it feels like they could really push as many consequences as they can in this game and have more definitive endings, because they
Yeah.
don't have to write off of this game because it's the end. So
That's right. And Blue Jay the Ninja, how's it going? Thank you for joining. Yeah, we were talking about it before. We could probably just copy and paste it here. So the endings, I mean, there's a lot of potential, like you said. And I agree with you. You're going all in. There was clearly the pivot, and whatever happens here, I mean, it's up to us to kind of fill in, the next 5, 10, 15 years, or forever. So I'm with you. You got to go for it. And we know based off of them, right, that there are a series, and this is what we were talking about before the stream started. There's a series of decisions that are going to impact the different people. So how do you see that working? I guess, do you think there's maybe more people safe than others, or do you think like everybody's gonna, because this isn't even something we talked about, do you think there's like literal choices that will determine, like one choice determines Moses, and one choice, do you think it's literally 1-to-1, or maybe like grouped, maybe more people or certain people are more important than other people? How do you see that working, or how would you want it to work, I guess?
I mean, I feel like there's going to be no name characters that will perish in the fire that we obviously like will care about, I guess, a little bit because they're people, but at the end of the day, we're going to focus on the characters
Right.
that we care about.
Yeah.
But I feel like the choices might be revolved around, like, let's say, for example, Loretta wants a story about what's going on with Abraxas or something, and then Max guides her to a location. Like, you get to pick where she goes. Maybe that determines her fate, because if she goes somewhere where the fire starts or where the fire is going to be the most, maybe that'll put her in
Right.
more danger. Where if you steer her away from that area, it could save her life. It could be stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be like there's a lot of stuff in Double Exposure too, where it's like the choices weren't obvious to how they would play out to relationships with characters, but they did impact the story a little bit. So I
Yeah.
feel like they might have stuff like that in Reunion, but also
Yeah.
it could also involve Chloe because maybe Chloe could be like some of the choices you make as Chloe can like influence how the fire, like the victims of the fire,
Right.
who survives and stuff.
Yeah.
I am curious to see how that goes, but I feel like there might be at least one choice that's garnered as a major choice that will probably save a character or let them die.
Yeah, and we were talking even before Chloe, and I didn't think about it from that perspective. You do wonder, kind of the split is. We were talking before the stream about Chloe and Safi seem like a really good pair, right? Personalities. You feel like if you lock them in a room, honestly, like even character wise, you could get somewhere. You could really have some overlap with both of their tales and maybe rub off on each other. And if Safi, maybe one of her character endings could be trying to save her, quote unquote, right? Chloe would maybe have a big part of that. And then you do wonder, okay, well, what would the split be, right? If Chloe would be so focused on Safi, Max maybe has to handle, the saving of the entire group, or maybe Chloe has a little bit to do with it. It'll be interesting to see how they do that split. Like I don't forget, but honestly, from playing these games, even like replaying them now and getting ready for reunion, like it still feels like Max's game. And I don't say that, to kind of throw, does that make sense? Like
Well,
it's not
yeah,
the
that makes sense.
like I just kind of assume that you're playing as Max the whole time, and then I have to kind of remind myself, oh no, it really is going to be like 50. Maybe the previews I think said maybe it's slightly more Max, but it'll be 55-45, at worst. And Chloe's going to have choices to make too, so it's not to
Hmm.
to discount her. She's going to be important, and even we talked about, right, like the final ending. Again, I've always kind of looked at it that it's Max's choice to make. That's not true. It could be both of them, one, then the other has to make a choice. I had pitched maybe you'd make it as one, group, both of them do it. I think that would kind of be fair to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I constantly kind of forget about Chloe's inclusion to like moving things, actually having a say.
Yeah, and I feel like Chloe to me feels like a more healed Safi. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're not the same exactly, but Safi's like, she responds very emotionally. She's very Chloe is more. I feel like Chloe has more of like a kind heart than Safi does, because Safi feels more vindictive than Chloe
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Chloe was more just a grieving person dealing with a lot of trauma, and life kept bludgeoning her in the head with trauma. She gets
Yeah.
Rachel back and she starts healing, and then Rachel gets ripped away, and all that stuff kind of culminated into her recklessness and her
Yeah.
self-destruction. But I feel like maybe Chloe's definitely, I feel like, more of a developed person than Safi is right now. So maybe Chloe can kind of
Yeah.
look at Safi and be like, "Hey, I see you and I understand, but you can't be doing stuff like this. Like, trust me, it's not going to fix everything. It's not going to make you feel better." And
Yeah.
maybe
And,
there might be an ending where Safi changes her heart. Maybe she does involve herself in the fire, and
right.
she tries to
Ooh.
fix it later.
Ooh, and maybe a sacrifice there now that you're saying it. Maybe
Maybe,
you can,
yeah.
oh my goodness. Yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking because I just did Before the Storm. You're entirely right. And Chloe's got this ability that they kind of would push it or give you the option. You could be really down and out as Chloe in Before the Storm, and then David does something stupid, right? But you could maybe tell he's trying. And you could say, all right, like what could Chloe do? And more often than not, I would actually choose to like, all right, just try to give him a chance. Then you'd have to give him 5 more chances. But even the stats at the end would actually normally favor David of people kind of giving him a shot. And
Hmm.
and I don't know how much you want to move that into Chloe as a character, but they could, just the ability that Chloe has, the ability to, yeah, things are bad, but she still has that, like you said, the sense of good. She can actually snap much quicker. Safi seems to be not like that. So like you said, Chloe is just kind of a more evolved version, really, of what Safi is. Breakops, thank you, buddy. The reunion is upon us. Will, I didn't actually even ask you. So, did you get a collector's edition, or was there any interest on you to do it?
I didn't get the collector's edition because I missed the cutoff. Because I
Ah.
also didn't think it was gonna be selling out that fast either. I thought I was gonna have a little bit more time, but that was just
Yeah.
my mistake. But at
I
the end
saw
of
it
the
within
day,
10 minutes and I thought that. But I don't know. There was somebody tapped me on the shoulder, an invisible person, and said, no, I think you got to get it quick because it's not something and I went for
mhm.
it. But now the question is, do I get it day one? Because there's the whole marketing kind of business side of things where like they aim to get it to you day one. And it's like, I swear to God, if I can't play this game on Thursday, if I have to wait till Friday, I guess it's whatever. I got to go. Now I imagine your Twitter or your X is probably more flooded than mine. Mine kind of like cycles with Scream and games and stuff. Like
Yeah.
we have to like piece out, right? Like, are you gonna be on social media?
Okay, so I definitely muted the hashtag like Secrets of Caledon or whatever. I don't know if anyone's actually gonna use it, but
Yeah,
I
I don't.
still muted it. Um,
Yeah,
I definitely within like the last like if I even hear somebody on Discord or I see a tweet that's like, oh, like that says leak in it, I'm just gonna leave Twitter
yeah,
and just close it.
yeah,
But I feel like if I don't, I'll be like very careful. I'll probably be less and less. But then towards the last 2 days of release, I'm just gonna be off Twitter
yeah.
because I don't want to risk spoiling
Yeah, I
myself
can't
at
see a
all.
screenshot. Like, I don't wanna see a screenshot or a choice that somebody is debating the morals of. Like, I care about that, and I'll comment later, but I can't see that before I actually see it in the game, you know?
Yeah, you're not gonna hear from me until I finish the game for sure.
Yeah,
Like
we'll
I
reconvene once we both beat it. Once Max and Chloe's story ends, what do you think that's going to do next in the next decade? Will they go back to Sean and Daniel, Alex, Chen, Steph, Chris, or brand new characters? So we were talking about this is a good segue. We were talking about this earlier, so I'll let you take it. Because I've kind of talked about my main thing is a remake of one. That's kind of where my mind's always been at. What do you long term, short term? What do you think could happen? We talked about the show as well.
I think the show, if they're not okay, so if Square Enix doesn't want to contract a game after Reunion, even if the Reunion does really well, that's their choice. But if they don't do that, then the focus would be on the show. And if the show does really well and it seems to have like really good people backing it, really good people at the helm of it, if the show does really well and it's very faithful and a lot of people like it, they're probably gonna continue the show with like a Before the Storm season, kind of like a prequel thing to like see into Rachel and Chloe and kind of focus a little bit more on Chloe because it would make sense as a TV show perspective. Like you get to see Max and Chloe go through their entire Life is Strange 1 story, and then if they renew it for a second season, and then it's like, hey, it's Sean and Daniel, some people will be a bit confused.
Yeah,
So I feel like they'll probably, at the very least, if it's just going to be another season, like one more season, it would probably be Before the Storm. But as far
yeah,
as a game, if they do make a new game, it most likely will be a new character. Or like you said, a Life is Strange 1 full remake from the ground up and not a remaster. But
yeah.
I do think it'll probably be if they're not going to do any remakes or anything, it'll probably be a new character.
N- Now this is an add-on to what we've even talked about. So like, okay, that new character, do you think Square would try to like push the idea of doing it like Max, like, like high school, college equivalent, teenage girl themes? Of course, you have to have like some sort of supernatural thing mixed with like real world drama. But I almost wonder, if they don't do Max or they don't do Life is Strange 1 remake, okay, and they do a brand new thing, do they try to position it as getting as close to 1, or do they try? Because really, I mean, what have they? I mean, anthology wise, 2 and True Colors, right? Those were like the big 2 going for, and then Double
Mhm.
Exposure brings it back. What would you want from that character, the new character?
I mean, interestingly enough, as we can see, anybody can get their powers at any age.
Yeah,
It usually revolves around trauma and most of the time a gunshot, but not with Alex's case.
yeah,
But with Daniel, he got his powers at 8 years old.
yeah,
Alex says that she started seeing the aura when she was like 12, 13 or something. It was like right when her dad left, I think, is when
yeah,
she started getting like her power coming in. So I feel like if they could just like I don't know, they could, like, lean into, like, maybe, like, a middle-aged person getting their powers or,
yeah,
maybe we'll see, like, a father loses their kid, and
yeah.
then they get their powers. I feel like they would either need to do something very bold and very different, or they would just reuse the formula of, like, "Okay, here's a twenty-something-year-old at this
Yeah.
college campus or at this, like, small town, and there's gonna be a murder, and it's gonna be." I feel like Life is Strange 2 is definitely the one that pivoted the most in terms of anthology into being something completely different.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of would hope that they would do something like Life is Strange 2 where they kind of pivot to like another
Right.
realm to like make it more interesting, to like get more out of the universe as we can.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's you have those two options. Oh, look who it is. You definitely have those two options of
Also, Blue Jay just said in the comments, a black or female protagonist with a different supernatural power and take place somewhere in like Miami. That's an interesting. I think a black protagonist would be very, very cool. I think that would be a nice continuation of the anthology for sure.
yeah, for sure. Dom, can you hear us? Oh God. Well, he's here, but he's setting up the mic, perhaps. No, I'm with you. I think You got to keep trying, and hopefully that's that's going to be the most interesting thing of what Square learns from all this stuff, is what do they learn going forward, do they and I think that's what we were saying even before. It's the pro con, it's the risk even of the TV show, because if the TV show does so well, and that's great, because that could reinvigorate life and bring life back into it. But then, okay, well, what's the lesson there, right? Or do they, and especially again, I can kind of see how they would think Reunion does well, and then the show does well, and they think, yep, Max and Chloe all day, every day. And it can really, kind of get in the way. You could argue it's already gotten in the way, right, of where maybe the series should have gone. I think both of us, or maybe all three of us now, don't mind that we've spent so much time with these two, but
okay, can y'all hear me now? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's good. I can talk for like 5 hours. So you have
I'm the same way, man. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Tom, what's up?
How y'all doing? Good. I know we're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about right now. I just jumped in, so I don't want to interrupt anybody.
Okay, so we're talking about like the future of Life is Strange, more or less. But I just want to say, if they're gonna make a new game, please don't do a Wolf Among Us 2 syndrome and the way to make us wait like 20 years. Please, God.
That's a good way to think about it, because I do expect it's going to be a little wait with the show coming up. I think that's going to be their whole. And again, about the show, that's a whole other discussion, because like podcast had said, if it ends up being good, then that could open up plenty of horizons for the future of the franchise. If it doesn't, then it could be potentially the final nail, I like to call it.
And but also, if Reunion does really well and the TV show does really bad, people will just crap on the TV show, but not
see. And then people will be like, "Well, it's just another live action adaptation that just didn't hit the mark," and we just want games at that point.
Yeah, we just move on.
Yeah. And even to what you said, Willow, about kind of like if you do a season 1 of the show, I think maybe Last of Us is an okay way of just like a warning, a caution, right? Like once you bring Abby, and it's the way that it had to be, but once you bring that up, like you mess with that season 1 success and that real big focus on say Joel and Ellie, but in this case Max and Chloe, right? So then if you do a season 2 and you swap it to Sean and Daniel, then it's like what the F did, and maybe Rachel and Chloe is just close enough where people would accept something like that. But maybe you could take The Last of Us as a warning of how it could work, how it could go wrong, stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like the big mess up with Last of Us season 2 was that they tried changing a lot about people's character and a lot about like how the plot ran in comparison to, because like even if people didn't like the game, the people that liked the game wanted to see that reflected in season 2. But like people said Ellie's character was really off and like writing wise and a lot of stuff like that. So I feel like if the Life is Strange people running the show can just like look into that and realize like, okay, we're gonna really make sure these characters are spot on, then I feel like it'll be overall fine. Because a lot of Life is Strange is about the character relationship.
Yeah.
So I feel like as long as you get the characters really strong and like you don't make the plot completely different, then it should be fine, I feel.
So I gotta ask y'all then, okay, so if we let's just hypothetically say if Reunion does not hit the bar that a lot of people, some people expect to hit, is the show under that immense pressure that it has to be a hit then?
I think so.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
And based on what I've read on so far on the show, I like the castings. I know they just announced the person that's directing the first 2 episodes. Seems like I have enjoyed Yellow Jackets. I don't know the other show that they did. I haven't watched that one yet, but I'm it's looking like it's good. But again, with these adaptations, I always have to
a grain of
salt. Wait till I see a bit more. I don't want to get my hopes up for it, because I wouldn't mind seeing Sean and Daniel adapted. I wouldn't mind seeing Rachel and Chloe and all that. But again, the first season's got to be good, and then we got to be very careful with how we go from there if it ends up.
Well, Willow has really gotten me, I think almost single-handedly, he's gotten me excited because of his knowledge of these people that are all connected to it. With that being said, I'm still on the general cautious. Like I've said in 500 videos that I'm normally pretty much every time I'm against doing this, just because at best you can match it. I don't think there's a single adaptation that's been, and it's a biasness, because we're kind of gamers, but I don't think a single adaptation has ever beaten the source, So at best, you're trying to recreate it and you're trying to match it. And 9 out of 10 times you're doing, and maybe Twisted Metal is the only one I can think of that maybe does better, but that's just because it's so radically different than what the games are. But keeping the spirit of it, So it's
the big thing I'm excited for is that, like you said, adaptations are usually like the best you can match it. But as far definitely with video games, for sure, video game adaptations into film and TV show. But the person who's running the Life is Strange TV show, she's known as for writing like a TV show that's so faithfully adapted to the source material that it was like spectacular and like really, really well received. But to be fair, it was a comic book series, so it was a little bit different because it's not a video game.
Yeah,
but if
that is where you get
shows
me
that
excited
same,
when you bring that up.
See, I don't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
they wrote the TV show The End of the Effing World on Netflix, and that was a really, really good show. It had a lot of like Life is Strange type vibes to it. And they also wrote another show that I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Chaos or something. That did really, really well as well, critically and with people, everyday people. So I feel like if they show that same level of care, I think we're gonna be we're gonna get a good TV show for sure.
Yeah.
Do y'all have an idea when it's gonna come out?
Soon. It's got to be soon, right? Because they got
if they casted Max and Chloe, they're probably filming right now. So I feel like, or getting ready to film. So probably next year. And
so I would start probably hear the other castings pretty soon then, right?
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah.
Because like The Last of Us, it was a huge, like ambitious, big show to make.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of locations and weather and all that stuff. So this game, it's like one location, which is the town and the school and Chloe's house and the junkyard and all that stuff. So I feel
because I'm not familiar with the most adaptations that at least Amazon's done. I know they did.
Well, they did Fallout.
Fallout,
right?
Yeah, Fallout. That's their big hit. I don't know about any others. Have they done any others that y'all recall? I'm trying to think of video games.
Are they the ones that's doing God of War?
Oh yeah, Prime. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They are doing God of War.
That'll be fun. But
I mean, that would be interesting.
I mean, we'll see with God of War. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical after that first look. I don't know.
Yeah, but no, I mean, Will honestly has gotten me really pumped for it. And look, if it's as close to a recreation, that's what you're, I think, locked into. I think I'd be more mad if you did something wildly different. If you call it Life is Strange 1, you have Max and Chloe, and you don't do the first game, I'd probably yell at you anyway, right? So I think best case is you literally just try to copy it.
And the person that's playing Max seems to be a fan of the game, so that's also promising.
Yeah. Both of them seem great. Both of them, I think, can kill it. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is an interesting one. This is something that Willow and I talked about a little. I just want Max and Chloe to live happily ever after at the end. So, Dom, and I guess Willow, because I think we talked about it before the stream. What do you guys think of how they're going to do the ending, like a final choice or a series of choices, keeping Max and Chloe alive? What do you guys think?
Do you want me to go first? Or whatever
way
works.
Yeah, you can go first.
So I know I've kind of just they barely scratched the surface on what they think the endings are going to be. They mentioned something the other day, like, and they're like, "Here's our question and answer moment." They start answering a bunch of. I mean, they said something about there's going to be multiple endings, but it's not going to be a singular choice. It's going to be like I don't know exactly how they described it. So there clearly is going to be. It's not going to be I don't think a repeat of the first game, because if they did do that, that would be a monumental mistake, in my opinion, because we need to have some kind of like variants. You can't just have the first game repeated all over again, because like I said, with Double Exposure, that ending was just something I just didn't look at, and like that was something that's very memorable to me. It's just like, well, it just seems like we ran out of, like my analogy I like to make was we were on a train track with the train and we were going, and then it just we were out of track and it just went crash. It just crashed. That's how I felt about the last two episodes. Like, as I said, Double Exposure, I know it gets dunked on by pretty much a lot of people, but I really do think through 3 episodes it was a pretty good game. And then it just, and again, is that on Square, is that on deck, and all the issues they had behind the scenes? That's, again, I don't know. It seems like they've got more of a, they've got someone from Before the Storm working on this. They've got a good team. I don't know many of the people that worked on it, because they've been a little quiet. They did all the dev interviews with Double Exposure. This one, they've been a little more, it's been different, because we don't know Deck Nine's situation. So it ends up leading into a situation now where Deck Nine has had a track record for having games with endings that just, there's no choices that really matter. They're claiming that this is going to be a big, big ending, different kind of outcomes, of course. And we look at Double Exposure, there wasn't really a dang difference in the ending. True Colors, did enjoy it, but there wasn't much of a big difference for the Storm. I mean, there's little differences, but this one, I feel like there has to be. I mean, I feel like we're going to have Max and Chloe definitely. I don't know if they're both going to be determinant. I don't know if one of them is, but I think it's safe to say there's probably going to be a good ending, happy ending, and then there's going to be another ending where I don't think it's going to be happy, whether it's all the people in Kaladin go and die.
Well, what's your version of a happy ending? Both living?
So yeah, probably both living, and maybe they go back to. I mean, if Arcadia Bay, I guess, is supposedly back around. Maybe they go back there, or maybe he's around in Kaladin, so something like that, where they either decide to go leave off and go somewhere, because again, this is their finale according to what they're saying, so I'd like it to be something where it's definitive and they have whether they go somewhere else, they stay there, and they're both alive. That's ideal for me.
Willow, what do you think?
All right, so I agree with Dom about the ending of them being together and happy for once, please.
Yes.
but I think I do think that you're right about like the Deck 9 endings and stuff being rather like True Colors. It was more so Alex's character just getting like her happy ending.
She either goes with Ryan or Steph, right? At the
Ryan or Steph, or alone.
Or alone, right?
She goes to play music, or she stays in the town and she has like a life in town or whatever. But I feel like this game, you're right, it does have to have choices that really matter and have different endings that really show. Especially because they don't have to write off of this ending. Like they did Double Exposure, because Double Exposure, it had like a pretty weak ending, but it can kind of be excused by the fact that it's a part 1 to part 2.
Yeah.
So they had to have something like big, like open-ended enough to write off of. So I feel like this game being the end, like the part 2 of part 2, then they should have put a lot of focus in having real consequences that really do matter, especially outside of just like, oh, who dies in the fire. I feel like in terms of Max and Chloe's relationship and who lives, who dies, what ending we're going to get between them, I feel like this game should and might really push through to having like really big different endings. And the fact that there's no final choice and it's going to be determined by little choices you make and like the culmination of major choices you make throughout the game is really, really cool and interesting. And it gives me a little bit more excited. Because that means that it's probably going to be more of a branching, like a bigger branch than Double Exposure was in terms of like consequences. But I personally just want them to, even if they don't go back to Arcadia Bay, like I just want them to be together and happy. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, they have to at least have that option. And
the first thing I think of when he says that is LIS2, because LIS2 was the same way. Those little branching choices with Daniel you make throughout the game, and they end up deciding potentially a number of different endings. If it's like that, I'm okay with that. That's not I just, my thing with Deck 9 is how different is it going to be? Is it really going to be a different ending? Are we actually going to have choices again throughout the game? Are they actually going to matter? And change the story.
If they pull it off, though, it's going to be
great.
Crazy good. It's going to be great.
That's what we were talking about even earlier with, do you kind of have a single, like, multiple decisions, but do you have a decision kind of match a person? So like there will be say one choice throughout the game that would then have a Safi thing, or then how do you do it? And I've said even too, you got to remember you're playing as Max and Chloe. So then when you decide whatever ends up happening at the end with both of them, can they make it together? That was something I kind of pitched to Willow before the stream started. Do you make one? Because if you make it as Max, then you make one as Chloe. Like, how do you kind of write that or make that work? If they both kind of just decide, okay, we're both going to die together, kind of grim, but we're both going to go out together, or we're both going to live together. That could be one way of doing that as well. To kind of follow up too, want to hear your guys' ending predictions. So now we got to go all in. So what do we think? Like, do we actually have a solidified? I'll be honest, I really don't. In terms of the fire, do we have like a solidified way of how that would play out, or do we think? And even Willow and I were talking about this before. Is that maybe a backdrop to like Max and Chloe and time riff stuff? That's the main thing. The fire is kind of like a secondary thing. What do you guys think?
Okay, so what I'm personally hoping is that they've kind of just barely lifted the door on this, and it's I really do think there's going to be some other thing that nobody really knows about. And that's what I'm hoping. Like there's a surprise. There's some kind of other location. There's some kind of event. Like, 'cause we don't know who did the fire. Again, everyone probably think maybe it's Diamond. Maybe, and of course, everyone's gonna be like, it's the Safi's the most obvious one. I hope it's not Safi because they make it so definitely obvious that's her. Please, if she's involved, if you guys agree, like if she's so evidently involved, I'm like, then it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like, who could have thought that? But I mean, they haven't really shown. Maybe like I know Diamond. Like I think it might. I think Diamond. That'd be my guess. I think Diamond's gonna be related to something that's going on here because again, they had that whole I have a power moment at the end, and then now we don't know what that power even is, unless they're just gonna completely dump that storyline because of how Double Exposure's ending was received. I mean, she's gonna be in the game, so I assume she's gonna have some kind of role, and especially if she does have power, then I'd like to know is it I mean, would it be a firepower? I don't even know what that would be. That's a whole other discussion, right?
Right.
But I think even once we find out who does like whatever the fire, whatever it is, I think there's going to be something else that happens. Whether I don't know, I don't even know if we can like podcast. I don't think we can predict exactly what that could be because they could throw. I mean, they haven't shown. I feel like they've shown so much. I don't think they've really shown a lot of the later stages of the game. I feel because again, it's supposed to be a full-length game, so maybe we find out about who did the fire maybe halfway through, and then there's a whole other,
And Willow brought this up to me before we started the stream. To be fair, Double Exposure did also do this. You kind of lead with one thing, and they did actually have like backup things. They were ready to go in the game. It wouldn't be all that surprising to me if there was really something breaking down with Max and Chloe, or Chloe, I guess in particular Chloe, because of how effed up, kind of bringing her in through these alternate realities or however they're going to do it. That seems to be the real big, like, okay, this is going to have consequences time paradox wise. That seems like the real problem. And the fire is kind of just something that ironically, is happening that we have to also solve,
Yeah. I don't know if he wants to go. That's a good thought.
I think that Diamond will be involved because I did hear on Twitter, I believe, I did hear from a previewer because somebody took a screenshot of a preview clip where Diamond's just ghosting Max through text.
Yeah.
And then I think I tweeted about it, and I was like, wow, Diamond, like, really? And then somebody was like, hey, so Diamond is not doing this intentionally. That's all I'll say. And I'm like, ooh. So Diamond's like, what? Like, she's like kidnapped? Like, what do you mean? Like, where's
Safi's putting her under a...
People do have a theory that Diamond's power is mind control. Or has something to do with dreams and visions, because her being a cinematic person, it would make sense that she is a visionary.
That would make sense.
And maybe Safi's like, okay, so, and I talked to this with Alex before the stream, but it could be a thing that maybe Diamond sends visions to Chloe to come to Caledon to save, because she knows the plan of the fire and she wants Chloe to come and like help Max like figure it out, because like she also knows that Max has powers. Or it could be a thing where Safi uses Diamond to send visions to Chloe, but I don't know if that would make very much sense. But I feel like in terms of the fire and the ending, I do think time stuff is going to be more of a focus towards the end, and it's going to be more of a climax, because Max's powers will probably evolve in this game to a point that we can't even predict, especially through like the announced trailer where we see them like for 2 shots in the observatory, and it looks like there's like a pile of photos on a table, and it looks like a bunch of power stuff is happening around them, and it's super bright.
Yeah, you're talking about that. I found that very interesting. I know they've only shown like 1 or 2 like pictures or like the little scene with that. I'm like, well, that looks interesting. That's something I want to see more of.
I think that Max's powers will definitely evolve more, or the time stuff will be more into play than the fire itself. But I think the fire will still be important relatively. But I do agree that it's going to be more of like a time reality bending thing.
It's just like in one of the, correct me if I'm wrong, in one of these ways that the game starts is like Chloe is literally not supposed to be there, right? Like it's impossible that she is there, and it's just because of this time stuff that happened with Double Exposure that got her there. You can't just, I mean, yes, we're all very happy that they're together. I think all 3 of us, and we will take those moments, but you can't just leave that. You can't just say, okay, well, this is how it is. This is our way of getting her back. There's gotta be, in kind of the saddening Life is Strange type way, there's gotta be consequences to that you'll eventually have to deal with, right? Whereas the fire is kind of right in your face. It's 3 days away, right? So you got like the time limit, you got people's lives, all that stuff. Well, you have Max living it, right? And then kind of going back in time anyway. So you have all that set up. But then, yeah, eventually you're going to have to, this Chloe situation is going to have to be resolved in one way or another. And I think that's the emotional, just to be fair, how many of these characters do we care about? If you're making decisions all the way through, how many characters even are around at the very end for that final choice or the final ending? It really should be a Max and Chloe relationship. It's those two together. That's the final thing that happens in this game. It's how it's built. It's these two together, right?
The common denominators are Max and Chloe at the end of the day.
Yeah,
because they keep saying, well, it's going to be between them, Kaladin, and then whoever else, right? I mean, that's pretty much the whole thing I got out of it.
Yep. That's how many of those characters
there might be an ending where Chloe, if you pick Chloe's dead in Life is Strange 1, there might be an ending where the timelines kind of go back to how they were.
I 100%
have to say goodbye. I feel like that might be a ending.
So that's the Dom thing when you said earlier, Dom, about like not wanting to, and I agree with you. You can't just, I've talked about nostalgia a lot in videos, and you can't always just go back to the well. But in that ending, that one that will, like, I think that absolutely 90% likely could happen. Where
I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow ended up back in Arcadia Bay. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's just a goodbye, where it's like, okay, we lived through these couple days, which is such a parallel, to one. Like, we had our adventure, but we know that time's up, and we can do the right thing by putting the timelines back, which means you have to go, or we could do the wrong thing. And maybe that's how because you have to also remember, Chloe could also just be alive, and that wouldn't really be impactful to somebody who didn't choose that. That's where I think it can just get messy, is like how you start with the two different ones, is it kind of multiplies, by themselves. So it makes it so many different ways you could do a goodbye to Chloe. I think the safest thing is just don't say goodbye. Those two just go off into the sunset, which would be probably a similar thing with, if she's alive, you just make a choice at the end where those two go off, right? If she died and you bring her back, you have the choice to let her go, so she would die again, or you could defy the laws, and you could keep her and then you could go, which gets you to the same place. Both those are the same. And I think that's probably how they would do it, personally.
Yeah, I do hope that we see Arcadia Bay again. I mean, they did say in their burning questions at one point, they're like, it was kind of clever the way they answered it, because they had the question that was like, will we see more of Arcadia Bay characters? And they were like, will they come to Caledon? No, but that's not the question.
Yes,
we know
they didn't even
answer
that. Exactly.
You have to read between the lines, because we know they're not coming to Caledon, but they also said that we will know more information about the Arcadia Bay people, and that could just be, Chloe being like, oh, I took a picture with Warren, or I don't know. But it could also be that at the end there could be an epilogue where they go back to Arcadia Bay. Like, who knows? That would be the best case scenario for me.
That's the ideal ending, where they actually have a full on epilogue and they show a bunch of stuff. That would be perfect, in my opinion.
And it does mirror the comics too, which they hired the same artist of the comics to do the deluxe prequel comic for this game. So they do know of the existence of the comics, obviously. So I feel like it would be kind of like a nice parallel to the comics as well, if they just go back to Arcadia Bay together.
I love it. And especially if you're playing with like timelines don't really matter, like you can kind of pick and choose what stays, then Arcadia Bay could also stay in one of these universes. Even if Chloe died, you could probably get it where it's like the best ending, or the best ending for those two is they could stay together, be together, even if you're defying laws or not. And then Arcadia Bay could be back defying laws or not, and you like accept that. And that's like the universe that you two kind of get pulled into. And that's where, and that, it's a lot of strings you have to pull to get you there, but there, should exist or probably could exist an ending where you're together and you go to Arcadia Bay, and all of those things exist, even if it really shouldn't,
I agree.
I was wondering one thing really quick. So I don't know if that beginning thing where you remember when in the beginning where they say, you're going to pick all these choices. We're going to pick, well, who you romanced, who did you, what did you do with it? Because now one of the things I did notice though with that is that they have the whole Safi choice. Like, oh, did you support or did you reject? I think all those little things that you do in the beginning will play some kind of impact. I don't know to the extent of said impact, but I mean, could it impact even the endings? I don't know.
So what we said earlier, Willow, too, with Safi that you just brought up, is it got me an idea. because we were saying maybe Chloe could be the one to convince Safi to kind of come to the light, because those two kind of have parallels and stuff. So thinking about what you just said too, so maybe if you chose with Max to side with her, maybe Max can also do it. And if you don't do, which I just don't think that's a good idea. I hated that decision to do in the first place. So I would always choose to not side. If you don't side with her, maybe Chloe is the only, kind of, a telltale-esque or like a choice-based thing where you kind of have two shots at fixing something, but if you make the wrong choice, you only have one shot to fix it. Could be something like that. Max has the opportunity to help Safi as well, or if you chose not to, then only Chloe. That's your own, and if you mess that up, Safi's too far gone, something like that. That maybe is how they could do a Safi thing.
If it comes down to Chloe helping Safi, it would also be interesting to see how a Bae Chloe versus a Bae, like the two different types of Chloes would impact. Because I know it's like both of them combined, but one of them, based on your ending of the Choice in Life is Strange 1, she gets different visions and different, like her existence kind of gets pulled to like the ending that you picked.
Right.
So I wonder if you sacrifice Chloe, she'll feel more in her head, like maybe subconsciously, like she'll talk to Safi more about doing the right thing to help everybody, because that's what her choice was, or her plea to Max at the end of Life is Strange 1 was, please just let me go, save everybody else, like we have to do this. So it could be interesting how that would maybe have an impact if Chloe does get involved with Safi that way. But I do think that the accepting and rejecting Safi will play into maybe the difficulties between Max and Safi. Like, let's say maybe Max needs to talk to Safi about something regarding the plot. Obviously, she's not going to like you very much if you rejected her. So I feel like they could just involve like a difficulty disparity, but I don't know.
They just lock you out. So then Chloe's got to be the one to do it versus maybe Max.
And now that we don't have episodes, I'm like, how are we gonna do all this? Like, I mean, Life is Strange has never been in this situation. Now, a lot of people like it because a lot of people don't like the episodic format or whatever, all that. But how many choices are we gonna have? Is it gonna be like split into like, even though it's not episodes, are there gonna be like sections of the game? Like, I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing with that, because that's something we've never really seen in the franchise. It's all just been episodic.
I do think it was a pacing issue, because I think if Double Exposure wasn't split up, like the way that the chapters were so different in Double Exposure, where some of them felt way longer than others, I think it was they didn't do the episodes this time around, because the way that they would have split the chapters,
like how 4 and 5 were significantly shorter than
So I feel like it's just a pacing issue, because then if you have like a really long episode 3 and then episode 4 is like an hour and 20 minutes, like it's not going to feel like a great
people are like, what the heck is this ending?
So I feel like I think it was the smart move to make it non-episodic, but I do wonder how the choices will be split as well. Unless they literally don't show you your choice stuff until the very end of the game, which would be interesting. But
because you're right. How are they going to save like all the percentages and all that till you finish the game, or is there going to be like you could take a little hiatus
multiple
break?
pages of hitting R1 to see
I know you're going to have like, that's what I was thinking, you're going to have like 20, 30, and then there's obviously all the minor choices as well they throw on top of that. That's how
many plants can we save? We'll find that on like page 18.
How many plants can you water in the game?
And
water all the plants, get the secret ending.
I commonly forget plants in this franchise more often than I think I really should. Right, the amount of times you can let things die by not paying attention to them is quite a bit.
It would be hilarious to have an achievement involving the plant.
They really should tie it into those things more.
Have some kind of callback to the first game with
like Lisa and Samson, because Samson's the one in Max's house in Double Exposure technically. So it would be nice to.
Well, so this about soundtrack. So this is talking about the show. We can talk about the show too, but also the game. But Life is Strange is a franchise where the soundtrack is just as important as the game itself. Do y'all think the music from the first game will appear in the show? We could also even take it to Reunion as well. What do you guys think?
I would say, well, the soundtrack has to be, they have to have songs for the first game. It's like, how I said with Reunion, I don't want to go too much of the soundtrack if y'all haven't heard like all the names, but I mean, they're bringing some classics back, and that's good. We need like as much. I will say, no matter what people think of Deck 9 games, I always can say their games always deliver on the music. I love
I agree.
the music in Deck 9 games. Like they're each game I could probably point out multiple. I mean, Before the Storm, I think is their peak like game in terms of music. Like they some people even think that's better than the first game in terms of its music choice and selection. I mean, that main menu theme on Before the Storm.
Oh, it's so good. It's so unreal.
Good. I know. I'm like I could listen to that for like a couple hours. I mean, True Colors, another just brilliant. Like, I mean, that's another game I have multiple songs. I'm just like, damn, I can't stop listening to that. And then Double Exposure, despite even the menu of Double Exposure, I love all the music in Double Exposure. It's great. And now with Reunion, they've just announced. I'm hoping they have some secrets, because I know that there's a couple missions from the soundtrack that I'm like, oh come on, we can't have that song in there. I'm thinking we're gonna have some secrets, that aren't in that soundtrack, and I'm hoping, because
I mean, to be fair, Life is Strange 1 did have unlicensed music that didn't make it to like what we would call the original soundtrack. Like, it was just kind of sprinkled throughout the game. So right. I feel like if they could, I feel like there might be at least a couple songs that are hidden from the track list for sure. If they did do that. But I'm just really glad to see Daughter is back in Reunion, because they whoever decided to hire Daughter for Before the Storm was a genius.
A+ choice.
Was just I agree. It was the perfect fit. It was arguably the perfect soundtrack especially for that game. So having, even if it's just one song from Daughter, having Daughter come back, especially because Chloe came back, is really, really smart, and I really am going to enjoy that. But the soundtrack, from what we see from the songs that are already out to the public, like ones that they picked that were released a long time ago and stuff like that, all of the songs that I've heard were really, really good for Reunion. So I do have faith in the
and it's double the length of Double Exposure. I found that very interesting. It's double the length.
That's true.
I think they said it was 13 or 12 in Double Exposure. There's 28 in this. I'm like, and that's what we know of. 28 that we know of.
I mean, it could be because it's splitting between the styles between Chloe and Max.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, different.
And double the moments. Like, we're gonna have moments where they sit and think to themselves. I imagine both of them will have that. So they need more music to match both of their moments, their calm moments.
But the show has to include music from the first game. Like, there's no, like, they can't just be throwing random songs that, like, if we got to have listen, to all of you has got to be there. Like, off the you gotta have, like, you have to have that. Like, you can't just have some random song playing while she's walking through before she gets in the bathroom. You can't do that. Like that, you're instantly just gonna piss everybody off. I mean, everyone's gonna be angry as hell. Like, you need to have that. You need to have, like, I mean, Max and Chloe theme, even like for the game, I would love to see that theme return as well. Their little theme that they have throughout the game. I mean, like I said, I trust Deck 9 on the music front. That's not what I'm worried about. I know they'll do well. Now the show, I just hope, hey, listen, it's not a impossible blueprint to follow. I know you're gonna have, obviously, there's choices and stuff, and again, that's why a lot of people, and especially in my comment section, they're like, I don't really think this is gonna hit because you have all these choices, and then obviously the ending, you have a near 50-50 of Chloe or not Chloe. That's that's the decision they're gonna have to make, and that's the tough choice of doing that show, is that you're gonna have probably the music probably gonna be good. I'm not worried about the music. It's the other parts that are gonna be the real thing that's gonna make this either be a hit or it's gonna be another fail.
You could just make the same season a second time and choose the other ending, and that's the way of.
I know someone
or
in
just
my
an
comments
alternative
actually,
episode.
Yes. Some of my comments like, well, maybe they should do both endings. I'm like, I don't like they're gonna like a director's cut episode of both. Like, come on.
I mean, like what people wanted. If we think about The Walking Dead final season, how we technically got an ending, spoilers, even though the game is like 8 years old. We had an ending where we saw Clem get bit, but she did end up surviving. We kind of got what both people wanted, because we had a crowd of people saying, make it for full circle, let Clem die. And then we had another crowd being like, no, please don't let her die. And they somehow wrote an ending where both of that can happen. But I don't think that can happen with the TV show of Life is Strange, because I just can't see how it would be possible unless Max rewinds, lets Chloe get sacrificed, rewinds again, relives the week again, and then sacrifices the town because she changed her mind.
Do y'all have an idea what ending you think they're gonna pick?
I think narratively speaking and dramatically speaking, like for a TV show and like all the drama, sacrificing Chloe would probably be the
I was gonna say that one hits like. I think I've played the game 6 or 7 times, and I've only done Sacrificing Chloe once, and it was the most recent one, and that hits so hard, so freaking
Smash
hard.
the hero, and that's all I gotta say.
Plus the song, yeah. I mean, but it's so unbelievably like incredible. So I mean, I wouldn't want that, But I mean, I can understand, like you just said, I understand like if you're going for it. And if you were to do Before the Storm, I actually think that kind of adds to, kind of leading to a tragic end for Chloe. Like they could do it. But you'd upset, like, what is the I guess the question is, what would be like the true number, Because you have people on social media. I mean, social media sometimes is fake, sometimes is real. I do think it is largely more for saving Chloe, but I don't know if I don't think it's like 70, 30, 80,
I
20.
recently replayed the game. I just wanted to double check the percentages. It's 53. I think it's 53, 54% people obviously save Chloe, and then it's 46 saved Arcadia Bay. So it's near, like I said, it is near 50-50.
Was that the remaster though? Or
yeah, I don't know if they add up like all. Yeah, that's for the remaster. I don't know about the original, if that's a little different.
I believe the original, it kind of went into favor of saving Chloe as well as the years went on, for sure. Because I feel like people just kind of.
There's definitely been a shift a little bit. I
thought when it first came out, it was like 70-30, but maybe I just made that up in my head. I always felt like it was super high.
It may be. I don't know. It's been.
I wish I took a screenshot back in 2015, but I mean, I truly believe. Actually, no, I might have live streamed it all the way back then. But I really thought it was pro. I feel like it's gotten to like a 60-40 type decision, where you would make people mad, but it's not the overwhelming majority. It's just the majority,
I feel like if they're planning to make a Life is Strange 2, though, like a Life is Strange 2 adaptation, saving Chloe would be nice, because then you could maybe have like the cameo like they did in Life is Strange 2 and see like.
I would love to see a bunch of Life is Strange games adapted, but the problem is this first season this has to be good. If this isn't good, they're not doing LIS 2. They're not going to do Before the Storm. It's going to be a one season probably done moment. Unless
it's Amazon, so it could do really well and then they cancel it.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say that too, even from like a viewership thing. It will be an interesting test to see what the fandom, because obviously we're all part of it and we're all big parts of it, but like, what's it like how the first game is the most popular, and I think it's got general, like the average Joe might see that, on a program and click it, but how big is it? Like what, and also what's the expectations? Are they looking for however many millions of people? Is it going to do like Last of Us or Fallout numbers? Is there like multiple tiers below then? It'll be, what I mean? Like, will people just not watch it?
I wonder what's their definition of the word success,
right?
In this case.
Right.
I mean, Life is Strange 1, it sold like over 13 million copies, right? Like the original?
Yeah, it was like 10 plus, and then 20 plus played it. So.
Yeah, so I feel like I feel like it wouldn't be fair for them to be like, we want it to be as successful as Fallout, which is a bigger franchise.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like the gaming industry.
Because at the end of the day, there's a niche fan base for this. It's not like a super, super big like God of War, Fallout type fan base.
It's not like it's like Super Mario versus Life is Strange. Like it's not like it's.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah. Double Exposure soundtrack was such a vibe, and if the American Girl song plays in episode 1 when Max is walking through the hallway, I'm going to give the show a 10 out of 10. It would just make us, I think, feel very confident in it, right? It would raise the confidence where it's like,
I need the show to take place in 2013. I do not want it to be like them walking around.
Everyone's going to
with iPhones and I need it to be because 2013, like where it took place and the time it took place was so integral to like the vibes of the game too. So I feel like it just needs to be 2013.
It captured a moment, and if the show doesn't capture that moment, it's not gonna.
How Lost Records was really good at capturing, what was it, the 80s? Like
the 90s.
Yeah, same thing. I want to see with the Life is Strange. Like
the music for Lost Records was really good too.
Donut, it's the same thing I feel with Donut. They don't ever miss the music either. They're class A with music too. I mean, LIS2 has got that game's music is just whew.
Yeah, I feel like there's really no excuse for them to not put the music from the game in the show. If they want to add extra music, that's their choice. But there
should be no licensing issues. I mean, it's Amazon. They got Prime. They got so much dang money. They shouldn't have any.
It's not like you're contracting like Taylor Swift. You're contracting Sid Matters. You know what I mean? Like it's not...
Exactly. Because if they miss the music, then the show is going to be very difficult to win a lot of people. Because again, now obviously you're going to have a lot of people that never played the games, just like with The Last of Us, Fallout, all that other stuff that are not going to know any of this. They're going to learn. This is how they're going to find out. Now, best case scenario, show does great. Popularity of the franchise skyrockets, even if Reunion isn't the best game in the world. And then, hey, we start off new, because that's what I think they're going to do. If the show is good, we're going to start off anew. We're going to get a new character. We're going to start a new location and boom, that's what we're going to do. Because I know there's been that wording. I know you guys have probably seen the wording. They seem like, well, it seems like some of the wording's been like, this is the end of the franchise. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting way to put. But then some people are saying, oh no, it's just the end of Max and Chloe. Like, because I think they answered one of those Q&As that they said, well, they can't discuss plans right now about what they're going to do or whatever. They did definitively say this is it for Max and Chloe, though.
They flip-flop, and even like Adnan on Twitter, it said yesterday he found one where they did say like the end of Life is Strange. But then I think I even responded where it's like, I'm so inundated with like Scream 7 obviously did so well that we get a Scream 8. In Scream 7, the marketing talked about it being the final one. And it's like marketing just sometimes does it. And with Square being all over the place, it is safe. I think it would be safe to assume you're not getting one for like 5 years, but on the 5th year, maybe not so safe.
I
mean, because we don't even know if Deck 9 is going to be doing it. Like,
right.
Deck 9 is in a lot of hot water.
I feel like that thing that said it was the final game of the franchise, it was from Forbidden Planet, right? Forbidden Planet merchandise. Like, how much do they know? You know what I mean? It could have just been a mess up on their part.
I mean, I've heard the back and forth for that like for 3 months now. Like, oh, there's some like some outlets are saying that, and some are like, oh no. Like, if the official account has said nothing, I am just gonna be like, okay, well, I'm just wait. I want to see how the game ends. The game. I think the reception of this game is huge for that. It's gonna be a very big factor. They're gonna look.
I think this game,
especially Deck 9 being involved, because again,
Square
Enix could be like, well, Deck 9, I'm sorry, it's been a hell of a ride. We're gonna go find somebody else now. Like, and maybe that's what they'll do.
They could just get another developer. That could just be another thing as well, and it takes time to do that.
Because it could just be, it might not be just the swan song of Life is Strange. It could be the swan song of Deck 9. Because I don't know what Deck 9's situation is. It's based on everything I know. It's if this game don't deliver, Deck 9 could be toast, and that would be very sad. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's
I mean, the way I think about it, is
a lot of pressure on this game.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. I think if Reunion does really well and the TV show does really well, even if we don't get a game for a while, in my brain, it's not the exact same, but it kind of reminds me of how Silent Hill kind of got like the biggest resurgence in its franchise, like because of like the remake of 2, and like they're making a lot of games, and they're back. Like the golden age of Silent Hill is back. So it kind of reminds me of it makes me have like a little bit of hope of like, even if we don't get a game for a while, it's not that it would be dead it doesn't mean it's going to be dead forever, especially because we have the TV show. And
that thing has the potential to completely, even if these games just don't hit, that has the potential to change everything. It really does.
The person running the show is a very stylized, like the director for the first episodes has like a specific style. Like they're a good director overall, and the showrunner has like a very distinct style with like their writing. And like the way that they carry like the shows that they make. So I feel like if they can bring that style of the original game into TV very well, it'll do well.
And what I consider success is a pretty good show, but also like look at The Last of Us, look at Fallout, look at some of the other adaptations. The game sales, it's like a chart. It goes way up. Like there's a huge boost in the game's popularity and stuff just from a couple episodes of a show. Could play a big role, I feel.
And also, Life is Strange 1, the original, it's not a very expensive game. So if people do want to get into it,
and how much is the remaster original? It's like what, 15?
The remaster, I believe, is $40, and then the original is like 20.
Exactly. So you don't have to spend, too much.
And if they're smart, they would have a sale going on when the TV show's going on.
You do half off, you're doing well.
Can I bring this up though? Someone in my, I've had a lot of people in my comments have said this. They think there's a potentiality that they could remake the original Life is Strange and Force.
Did they get that from me?
Maybe they did. I mean, I had a couple people say that. I was like, okay, well,
I've been on that bandwagon.
I'm like, well, we've done a remaster. I'm like, well, it's not entirely like out of the question that they could, and it would also kind of like, if there's a long gap between the next game, right? That could be something that could, fill in the gap a little bit. Right.
That's what I was telling Willow earlier. Is I just think you can kind of see how they could get there with. It'll be probably 15, 16 years from the first game to say whenever the resurgence is of a new game. It would be long enough. They have that they already are willing, or we know that they care about the with Max and Chloe with Reunion going into the TV show. And then even that alone, by the way, like doing the TV show on the first game and having it be 11, 12, 13 years after the first game, like that's already enough time you could do it. It's the only one that's really done all that well, that they could justify people would buy a remake. People would not buy a remake for any other Life is Strange. I think that's fair besides one. So, and I've even pitched it like it could just be a test experiment. Somebody wants to do a Life is Strange game. They say, make a safe one first, right? Do a remake of one, make some money, then you can do your own anthology thing. I really could see it. I mean, I would put that. That would be my bet. Would be a one remake before you do anything else.
I mean, there have been good signs for Reunion in regards to the collector's edition selling out that fast.
Yeah,
and the pre-orders were like, I forgot what the numbers were on Steam at least, but I know they made it to like the top like 80 at least a couple days after the announcement came out.
Yeah.
They were like in the top 80 like pre-orders or something, or top like 50 wish listed or whatever it was. So I feel like the demand for the game is there, and it's most likely going to do for sure better than Double Exposure in terms of sales.
Chloe will get them over the top on that. Chloe will get them over the top on that for sure. Just on that alone. But
yeah, for sure.
See that's the thing. That's that forever kind of pro con of the series is you look at that and like, what's the lesson there, right? And I think their lesson that they've learned, like it or not, is it might be that Chloe and Max are it. That's Life is Strange. And then we're doing the show, and oh my God, the show works. Is it because of the showrunner? Is it the directors? Is it the actors? Or it's just Max and Chloe?
Max and Chloe.
Yeah, right? It's just retelling the first game. So you get that in your mind. And Square Enix, I mean, not to rain on the parade, but even this comment, right? They don't care about, and I don't know if I would agree with that. They don't. I don't think they don't all.
I feel like if they didn't care, they would have stopped after.
They would have been done with Life is Strange after Double Exposure. I feel.
Yeah, but to be fair,
because they lost like 4% of their overall revenue or something like that because of Double Exposure. Because Double Exposure was such a commercial failure.
But I think to put Life is Strange in the same category as their non-Western, which by the way, right, they've eliminated pretty much all but 2 or 3 of those type of games. It's more Final Fantasy and that kind of era. Like to say that they would care about Life is Strange as much as those, I don't think is true. I don't think they don't care whatsoever. But it's again like, what do they care about in Life is Strange? Do they care that it's just a Max and Chloe story, or do they care that it can be an anthology? It was what I was telling Willow before, like. You can like the direction or not, but I mean, like what's happened has happened, and right away it didn't really work, right? If you're Square Enix, if you're those executives that's not paying too much attention, and you see 2 be so freaking polarized, right? Like it was such a split. I mean, I assume you guys really like the game. I've always been on record that I don't like 2. You have that. You have the sales that just never matched 1. And they tried this anthology thing for a while. And to these executives, it never worked, And then now, even if Reunion does work, what's the common theme is, oh my God, Max and Chloe.
Well, you guys have also put yourselves in a hole because you said, oh, this is the ending of Max and Chloe. So now you're kind of forced to go back to the anthology, or at least what I think they could do is just get it. I mean, they have to get in their character and maybe then they just start a story with them. But again, that's a big if, right?
Yeah.
Don't know.
I feel like the way that they could go about it is it's the end of Max and Chloe, and they can't. If they backtrack from that would be stupid. But if they're gonna push forward, because I do think that they do. If they didn't care, like you said, if they didn't care about Life is Strange, they would have been done with it a while ago. But I think they're really lucky. First of all, that Double Exposure and Reunion, Deck 9, I mean, was a duo contract. Because if it wasn't, we wouldn't get Reunion probably for sure. Yeah. I feel like Reunion will do well for sure in terms of sales and hopefully reviews, and hopefully it's a great game. But if they are going to continue down the route of anthology afterwards, they could just do a thing where it's like, hey, Max and Chloe was in this location that this protagonist is in right now. Look, they graffitied this wall. Like they're going to probably do something like that. But also, I think having the definitive conclusion will probably also have people getting closure with Max and Chloe, like a definitive closure. So if they were going to do anthology, they'll be like, okay, well, now that I got my After the Storm game that they've been begging for a long time, I can now open my heart to an anthology more. You know what I mean?
Do they have any cousins or distant relatives that you could have, like another Caulfield? Because we know passing of the torches tend to be, popular.
Max and Chloe had like adopt a kid or
Yeah,
something.
right. That's what I honestly was thinking, like adopting it, and then I thought like an estranged cousin or something would kind of be fun. But yeah, I think like an adopted kid would actually not be bad. What
Yeah, I
about
feel
this?
like,
What about this? Am I the only one that feels like we're having that moment of this is a family member who's moving away right now? So this is something I think we've all probably talked about a little bit, here and there. This kind of, what about the feeling? Kind of even wrapping it up. How do you guys feel about what's your feeling on like saying goodbye? Don't get emotional on me, but what's the feeling of like saying goodbye to these two? Like, what does that feel? Because I will say, to be fair, we've done this before, and I think that really damper, some people would just look at that and say that this doesn't mean much because we've already kind of retread it. I've long said, like, I think even Farewell, that was such a moment, and yeah, we did do it, but we're in such a different era of their lives, of Deck Nine, of the property of Life is. We're in such a different spot. I'm willing to do it again, but what does it feel like for you guys, compared even to back then, or just on its own?
You want to go first? I'm trying
Okay.
to think of.
For me, when I play Life is Strange, I was a kid, dude. I was like, it shaped me a lot growing up because it was like my first like emotional connection to a video game story at the time. But having like the end of Life is Strange 1, I said goodbye to Max and Chloe because I never conceptualized them coming back. Life is Strange 2 came around, and then I saw, well, Before the Storm came, and I got that moment with Chloe and Rachel and getting to know Rachel, all that stuff. And then Farewell came out, and I was like, okay, this is the end. Life is Strange 2 came out, and then we got to see that photo of them in episode 5 of Life is Strange 2, which was like a nice little nod. And it felt like seeing your ex in a grocery store for a moment and then walking out.
Yeah.
And then we got True Colors, and then in Wavelengths they get mentioned, and you get to hear Chloe, and you can even hear Rachel, which was really sweet.
Yeah.
Which I hope we have Chloe talk more about Rachel a little bit in Reunion, as a side note. But I think saying goodbye for sure, like this being like the end, at least the way they're marketing it, like this is the end. I feel like it'll definitely be emotional when I play it, but also it would be a really nice like closure moment after like 10 years of being with these characters and having, an ending so definitive that if I replay the games, it'll feel like I'm building up towards this ending over and over, and it feels more satisfying to me. Because there's also the comics too that also helped a lot with it was a very fan servicey comic, but it was actually like really well written and really well made. So I feel like there's just so much of Max and Chloe that will always be there, that even if I do say goodbye, like they'll still be there,
Yeah, I will say there's like an analogy that Willow pointed out earlier. So I look at the final season comparison for The Walking Dead. That is a game that, yes, every time I replay, I always think that ending is just something that is memorable. It's something that I'll never forget. Like, I feel this is a game when you finish it for the first time, and hopefully however many times after, it's going to be something that has to be, I'm not saying it has to be to that level, but it has to be something where it's like, well, it's emotional. It's a an ending that you're going to be like, it's going to stick with you for however long. It's something you won't forget, because that is the issue with Deck 9. They just don't have endings that you really can look back and be like, wow, this was a great game. Like, it's just like, well, whatever, like we just go to a different location, or there's a little minor difference. This is an ending I feel it's got to honor the first game in a way. And I'm not saying it has to be replicated or anything, but it's got to be something that's like, it doesn't have to be that bar, but it has to give the fan base and just people that play it something to be like, well, this is a satisfying conclusion. Their story is wrapped up. It's over. We're happy. We could say goodbye, and then whatever they want to do after, they could do after. But I fear. Yeah, I definitely have a big fear that won't be the case. And I really do hope that Deck 9, because they keep doing all the surveys after every game. I really hope they have listened to the fan feedback, because that has been one of my biggest complaints I've been making clear since the get-go, is that you got to give me an ending that I feel like it just, and choices matter, and two, I feel like it is a memorable one that a lot of players will keep with them.
Yeah.
And speaking of The Walking Dead ending, I love how the final season is the only final piece of Clementine we get, and there's nothing else that exists about Clementine after this point.
Yeah,
and
of course.
That doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, nobody mention anything else, please.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it. Like, and I'm more optimistic than I think Willow is probably more optimistic than me, but I'm definitely up there. Honestly, I am up there. And the one thing that does get me kind of down, where it makes me worry, is there's so much, like, in all reality, there is a lot of pressure. And while I believe you could, and I think I told Willow even before we started the stream, like, not to take away from how hard I think we all know, even though we're not in it, making games is very, very difficult and we respect it. But this is not a game that needs to take 6, 7, 8 years. This is a game that really you could. I mean, it's a lot of writing. It's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of that stuff. If you just have really great writers and you write it for a couple months, like, you could do it. So I guess what I'm getting to is the worry is they have so much to live up to. They are really, like you just said, Dom, they're tying together 11 years, of a journey. And that's a lot. That's so freaking much. And I think I would just
do or die. It's do or die.
And it's like, and I remain optimistic because of what I just said, because I don't, again, not like by saying I don't think it's that difficult, I'm not trying to take away from it, but I don't think it's all that hard to write for just several months and really try to nail that down. The rest, I think, would just be more fluid. But I would feel better if we weren't in this position with Deck Nine. Like, it seems like they're going to survive. It seems like they're going to make more games that aren't Life is Strange. But like, we know that they've been under whatever they've been under. It's not been an easy year and a half. So I would just feel better that even though if this was always going to be the end, just to kind of know it was like a nice transition. Everybody kept their jobs, like it wasn't a race to the finish in a year and a half. I would just feel better than I do, even though I remain optimistic. You look at what they've gone through, and it is hard.
Because I do feel a lot of people don't understand this could be it. This could be it. And I know no one wants to think that, but this could be it. The final hurrah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to think that, but I mean, it's true. It's very possible this could be the final Life is Strange game.
The analogy that I'm thinking of with Deck 9 is in Life is Strange 2 when you're teaching Daniel to skip stones and he messes up like 4 times, but then he actually ends up doing it successfully. It kind of like, if they pull off Reunion, it will make it,
because Deck 9 has made good games before. It's not impossible for them to do it. It's got to be a full start to end. It's got to be cohesive, because Double Exposure, that's just the problem with it. It's really good for a certain amount of time, and then it's like, because of all the issues they had or whatever, I don't know what was, because again, I mean, I'm not sure if every single person that worked on Double Exposure is even on the team anymore. That's the crazy thing. So many people got laid off, cut, gone, and it's like, well, what that I feel was a huge factor as to why Double Exposure, especially in the end, was just like, it felt like they just, they threw whatever at the wall they could to
sure.
exactly to make sure it was some kind of ending,
Yeah. And I do feel like,
go ahead.
I do feel like even if this game, I do think this game is going to be good, but that's just probably my optimism and my hope. But even if this game isn't the best it could be, we still have the blessing of getting to see Max and Chloe again at all, and getting to hear Hannah tell as Max one final time, and having that, like, at least we have something to hold on to, even if this game doesn't hit the mark. But I do believe that it will. But it's still, like you said, it's like, it's the end all be all. Like, they can't half-ass anything in this game. It needs to be full, like, all of their power needs to be put into this.
Yeah. And I said, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's like someone said, so that's why some people wanted them to do the Avengers thing, because they're like, well, if you're gonna do it, you might as well, instead of half doing it, you might as well just fully go in, just do it to get it, And I like that, because they're not gonna do that, obviously. But I'm saying, if you're gonna do something, you need to do it 100%. Like, you can't just hold back, because you don't know if you're gonna get another chance. You don't know what's gonna happen after this. You don't know if the show's even gonna do well. If you're gonna do something crazy, now is the time to do it. If you're gonna do it.
That's
instead
true.
of just this, put a half on the break. No, you just got to go all in. That's what
and may I say too, and I think even Don't Nod, or like the leads of the original Life is Strange, I think as I've gotten older, and to kind of mirror what they've said, like, to have this ability to kind of just be able to ignore that certain things exist, I think has really come in clutch with me personally, like online and stuff. Like, for people that, because I think we're going to go through it, in another week, and no matter how it ends, I think to have the ability to kind of cut off the story where you want to cut it off is rather important, or at least I think it should, to be able to just say, okay, Life is Strange 1 was that story, and there was no I don't really look at that as a toxic negative type thing. Especially I think again, as I've gotten older, it's just you kind of choose what you want to ignore and be part of it. If you don't want double exposure and reunion to count, there's nothing stopping. I mean, they exist. You can't stop them from existing, but you kind of can to yourself in a way. Does that make sense? So that's
right. I mean, in technicality, Life is Strange 1 is the only, what one would say, the only canon story to Life is Strange 1, because the two different endings are two separate canons, and they're technically non-canonical endings.
Yeah,
because it's so different. So if you really want to be like Life is Strange 1 that's just it. That's what Max and Chloe did. Like, it's totally fair, and it also matches kind of how a canon would go in this scenario, even though Reunion kind of closes the gap on the timelines. Right.
And I'm with you. Like, having Hannah back, like that's a blessing, and like to hopefully to be able to take, even if there is bad in Reunion, or even if it doesn't stick the ending, to hopefully be able to. And I think you can only kind of do this like because of the situation. I don't know if like every game ever you can always just focus on these kind of positives, but with it being so definitive, and like we're all saying, right, like this is the end. This is probably the end of, say, like Hannah as Max. Like, to be able to take in the good and then maybe just ignore the bad of Reunion, if that's what happens. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, because we do get that performance, and that's really cool. And we didn't have to. I mean, to the whole Square Enix Life is Strange thing, you could say it's a blessing, which I kind of agree. But I would argue, well, it's a blessing for Deck 9, I would argue, though, right? Because if that contract was only one game, Deck 9 might be ultra screwed. And then Square Enix, I really think they might still do the TV show, but they would be done. Like, we'd already be done with Life is Strange now. We'd be 2 years into this, ice age of no games. So it was kind of lucky. It kept Deck 9 going. And Square Enix kind of like prolonged, almost gave themselves, ironically, another chance to look at themselves and say, do we want Life is Strange to continue? Because if they only had double exposure, we all know the answer.
That is a good blessing. That is a good blessing. I didn't really think about it. You're right. 100%. Like, if they didn't make that 2-game deal, you could easily have made an argument that Square Enix would be like, all right, well, we just lost all this money.
Yeah, I think they'd be so done. I mean, again, they could still do it, but they'd be so done.
And it might be what ends up maybe causing a resurgence. Who knows? That's that.
Willow, am I seeing doubles? Are you?
I don't know what happened. It just kind of.
Doing like there's softy thing going on. What's happening?
No, it just crashed on me. Anyways, but I did hear what you said. But I do think, you're right. Like, it is, like it just goes down to the fact that it's just like whatever like the end all be all. This is it. This is just what it's cultivated to, and I feel like and also, like, the behind the scenes footage that they showed, it really does seem like they're putting so much into the performances in this game, especially from Rihanna. There's 2 separate clips behind the scenes of Rihanna crying like their eyes out, playing Chloe, and I'm scared of that. I don't know what that's gonna end up in the game. People suspect it's a Rachel flashback, but
And they've put Rihanna through like just beating Before the Storm again, like last night. They were put through a lot, and that, like, it's actually quite I admire the performance to be able to step in for Ashley, right, and to be able to do what they had Rihanna do in Before the Storm is actually, there's a lot of emotion, and a lot of like deeper stuff that Chloe. I don't know if it's like the better version, but it's definitely a version where Chloe goes through more, and she's front and center, So Rihanna. Good move, and like you said, they're focusing quite a bit on that.
I mean, I don't think anyone here has to worry about the performances. They're not, that's the least of our concerns, right? It really comes down to me just with the story. The story's got to be good. It's got to be cohesive. It's got to make sense. It can't just be out of left field. Everything's got to, come together to make a puzzle, in my opinion. And if it doesn't, then we're going to be having a tough conversation, I feel, after this game's conclusion. For sure. And it's going to be the same conversation I had after Double Exposure, except I think the show is that instead of, they made the 2 game contract, it's not going to be that this time. It's going to be the show. Then everyone's going to look at the show, and there's going to even be another level of pressure with the show, because now it's like, well, if you want any chance for a new Life is Strange game, you're going to have to look at this show now as a potential for that, because if the show, we've seen, if the show is really popular, well, there you go. Then Square Enix will be like, well, maybe we can do something new.
Is there anything they can do to you that would make you remove them from that logo of yours there? Is there anything that would crush your heart enough?
Oh my
Oh man, that's so. Would you mind?
Great logo, by the way. Great logo.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I will say. I mean, Deck Nine is. I really do think they're a very good studio. I know they had, like I said, they've had so much. I mean, God, I mean, usually don't. I know Telltale and all the stuff they've dealt with, but it almost feels like Deck Nine is, because I know Deck Nine even helped Telltale with stuff. I'm interested to see, like, are they really? Is this really their deathbed? Are they really on the last leg right now, or will they be able to, even if Reunion does okay at best, right? Are they going to be able to walk out of this okay, where they're not going to just everything's going to hear Deck Nine close?
Well, it was kind of spotted today. I don't know if you saw. Adnan had said on Twitter. The story, I believe, is he found a developer who had some stuff listed, and maybe he talked to that developer. I don't know that story, but you can actually find that developer if you want. And the long story short is they do have their next game, like, they're locked. It might be like a meta, like a VR type game. So just a radically different type thing, but they did survive,
It could also be ad hoc versus Telltale thing where people from Telltale made ad hoc studios and made Dispatch,
Yeah.
So wait, Deck Nine is working on a new game that's like...
It's pretty, I mean, it's not, I guess, confirmed, but it comes from a developer that worked on that game that says it's...
So could it be like an assisting thing, like what they did with Telltale with The Expanse? Or...
I think they're just doing I think they found a contract to make, so maybe like a Deadpool VR, like they maybe got a property and are allowed to. But that's an entirely, really, to make it, I mean, that's kind of a positive, but to bring it back to like Bittersweet, that is such a shift, right? So the Deck Nine that we know is gone, I believe, after Reunion, because now I mean storytelling and
support studio.
Yeah, because like to do a VR, I'm not gonna diss. I mean, I'm not big into VR stuff, but not to diss it. I mean, there can still be some writing and still some kind of the technology side of Deck Nine that they're so good at, but like the priorities and what they're going for, are going to be different, seemingly starting like right now.
So they're considering they've lost so many people, I would not be surprised if that ends up being.
I feel bad. I live like 45 minutes away from Deck Nine, and I've always wanted to visit, and this is a bad time. So
I know, right? Yeah, that's.
I would like them to stay around just so I can go to. Hopefully,
I mean, maybe I'm looking at is that maybe they're going to do a couple smaller properties, and I think Square Enix hasn't decided yet what they're going to do.
Right.
Obviously,
I think they're just surviving, right? They're just trying to survive. They'll take whatever, and then if they, that's why
they're trying to partner with Telltale. They were trying to do the whole thing with Telltale, but then Telltale had all their financial issues. So sorry, Deck Nine, we can't pay you anymore for this contract work. So
Telltale can't pay a lot of people.
I know, and now we could get a whole conversation about the Wolf Among Us 2. We'd be here.
Oh my God, Wolf Among Us 2. I don't even.
No, we'll come back for that. We'll come back.
Yes, we're gonna have to have something with that. I know people would love that conversation. I know.
Well, Dom, you saw that stuff though, right? About the whole, but now MP First is reporting that same Argentinian thing, so it's happening.
So I do think we're gonna see a remaster. I don't know if it's gonna be this year, but it does. That's gonna be the first step. That we're taking baby steps now. But again, I'm not getting my hopes up till I see something.
That's what I'm and see, there's the parallels because we're gonna be saying this in 5 years.
We've been saying this for years.
No, but we're gonna say it for Life is Strange too. We're gonna say we just got to get the remake of 1 first, and then we can do.
Because I do agree. A lot of people, like most of my comment section, agreed that yes, we do. I think a remaster is necessary. Just the fact that it's been 13 years for that.
Yeah.
So, Life is Strange was a little different story when they did the remaster collection. I feel like this, they need a remaster.
You know if it is Wolf stuck digitally on past consoles?
As far as I know, it's backwards compatible.
But okay. So you can still buy it even digital.
So I believe yes, you can, because I think when the new Telltale bought the rights, so they still had the rights to like The Wolf Among Us, Batman, and a couple of their older IPs. But like for example, when I get a comment about is Game of Thrones, they don't own Game of Thrones anymore, so they can't. People like, well, this guy's like, can I get Game of Thrones on the PlayStation? I'm like, no, there's no way you can get it. Minecraft, there's no way you can get it. Those are games kind of just like.
I bought a couple of those physically. I got those physically.
Smart, and that way you can still play them because that's the issue with digital only, because if stuff like that happens, you're not really able to play these games. There's no way to
right, exactly. That's why physical media is important.
That's right.
Exactly.
Are you guys getting well, speaking of that, and to end it, are you getting the digital reunion or physical?
I got the digital deluxe currently right now, but I do want to get physical because I know like PlayStation 5, they have like that one disc that's like all the games right in one thing. I think that they sell it on the Square Enix website. That's pretty interesting, but I do want physical media of all my games eventually, but I do have the digital because I got it on Steam and I got it on PlayStation 5 because I just wanted to have it on the two the two places I played them on.
Yeah.
So I guess they get double money from me, but but
right.
I have the digital right
Well,
now.
they got like $140 for me for the collectors.
okay.
Tom, did you do the collectors? I asked Willow earlier. Did you
Yeah,
do
I
it?
was not. I don't know if it's still available.
What is with
unfortunately-
you guys? And you didn't
Nope,
jump
it's
on it
sold
right
out.
away.
So here's
Fast,
the thing
Alex.
with me. So like how I think they should have done this. Like this is something I really think they should do. Like maybe just, hey, somebody take notes down. I really think they should have a like a box or like for example like a steel book. Like I would love a steel book
That would
physical
rock.
version of Life. Like why can't we do that? Like I have all the Last of Us ones. There's some even there's a couple from like the other PlayStation games. I don't know why they don't do steel books. Steel books is a great idea. It's good. It's physical media. They're beautiful. They could have like a design from the game. Like I don't understand why they've never considered doing that. Because
I think Double Exposure had a steelbook for GameStop, right? Or am I
Oh
wrong?
yeah, you're right. It was a exclusive. Yeah, right. It was exclusive to GameStop, and I'm like, why
a couple dying properties or franchises linking up there. GameStop and physical media. Life is Strange.
I was like, yeah, I forgot that was literally a GameStop exclusive. I'm like, why
Really?
is it? Yeah, it was. I mean, that was like 2 years ago, so I'm like having to go back into the memory vault with that. But you're right.
But yeah, there's
Dang.
no announcement for a reunion version, so that's just
Yeah.
okay.
So
But like I
like,
said-
whatever to that.
But like I said earlier, I wonder if they do, because Final Fantasy, like I wonder if they do a 1 double exposure reunion 3-pack, or they put, because they already just did all of them in a disc as well, right, in the November or October. So they could just put all of, I mean, by the way, not a real big fan of the art cover, like the cover for that collection one they just did. Not a big fan. So if you're going to do a new one, that's why I like the idea of doing 1 double exposure reunion, because it'd be so heavy Max and Chloe like as a cover. You could do that as a steelbook, by the way. But I want to look up
they got a good enough art designs where I'm like, you guys could do something. You know,
for
Right.
the I do not like, yeah, you mean the collection that just came out. I'm not like, I want to get it because I'm big into physical media, but the cover of that is just not good.
Yeah, you're
enough.
talking about the PlayStation one, correct?
Yeah, the one that it's just like it says Life is Strange. It's like a
Yeah,
blue
it's got
kind
like a bunch of
background.
like stickers
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not really great.
I'm just
Yeah.
not a fan of that at all.
It's funny,
If
like
anything, you
the
could
amount of
just
people
swap
that
it
didn't
out with your
know
own
about that. They're
printed
like, wait, they
art.
made another collection. I'm like, oh,
You
I
can
didn't-
get the steel book. Oh my god, people are selling it online for only like $30. Oh, game not included. Oh dear. Well, the game's got to be included. Steel book.
as long as that ain't a scam.
Yeah, you can get this. Well, okay, I'm gonna add that to my. 'Cause I got like 450 physical games. So I got to keep building. Yeah, steelbooks are great, especially if you can get them on. Yeah, we have like a the Denver Fan Expo, like Comic-Con type stuff comes, but no, gaming wise, it's always pretty light. Nolan North was there a couple of years ago, but
Oh, nice.
yeah, but for the most part, Hannah,
So-
that would be sick if she did.
Yeah, I don't know. They never really. Yeah, they never do stuff like that. At least
Nah.
Life is Strange.
They only
games
do
does.
that. Was the Streamly or whatever? What's the autograph where they
Cameo.
Yeah,
Cameo.
it is Streamly.
Is it
the
Streamly?
autographs.
Oh,
where
oh,
they
yes.
do where they have like
Like-
those sessions where they autograph and answer, like do a live stream with it.
Ah,
Whatever that.
Because I know
Yeah.
Katie Bence, she does that a lot.
Katie
Like,
Bence,
Yeah.
they did a lot of them for True Colors for sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you
Yeah.
go. All right, guys. Final things you want to say. This is it. This is it for us too, along with Life is Strange as a franchise.
Well, I will just say this: enjoy the ride, whether this is the end or not. Take solace in that. Hey, if it is the end, then you enjoyed one of the, I'd say, greatest franchises in gaming. Even if it's had its bumps and bruises, right? I think it's one that it definitely, if it is the end for me, it'll be one that will definitely have been a pillar to my life that I'll
Yeah.
never forget. But listen, enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Because like I said, we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know how the show's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen with Deck 9. We don't know what's going to happen with the franchise. So, yeah, just enjoy it.
That's right.
Yeah, same sentiment for me. Just enjoy it as much as you can. We'll see how it is, and just have a little bit of hope. If you're really pessimistic,
Please be
about it,
optimistic. Do not
be
just
a
say,
little
"Oh, this
cautiously
double
optimistic.
exposure was bad, so this is going to be like." Just be open-minded. Let's.
We have
I
some
think that's-
optimistic people on the panel, and there's definitely some people that aren't as optimistic. That it is
And
what
I
it
don't
is.
blame them. I don't blame them.
No,
they have every
yeah.
right to feel that way after I mean, after True Colors, I mean, it was riding high. I felt True Colors was a game that, a lot of people liked. So,
yeah,
I mean, they are capable of doing something good. So I have to trust that. Hey, you brought someone back from Before the Storm that's kind of directing the game. I feel like you've got, the bar is very low. They don't have to. They don't have to give me an LIS1. They don't. Just give me a game that I could be like, okay, this is a solid title. It's not too good, but it's not anything garbage. That's a fair way to put it.
It's a fair ask. It's nothing unreasonable.
Nothing crazy.
Well, I appreciate you guys joining me a ton. Thank you for being here. For anybody watching live, or of course watching at home, say later, both of their social media handles are in the description. I think they're they speak for themselves. Huge creators and great guys. So thank you two for being here. Let's see how it goes. And I think I've maybe pitched to both of you. We'll have to do some get-togethers or streams even for the show, especially if it's weekly. I think that could be really fun to do something there.
That would be really fun.
And Dom, we have unfinished business with Wolf Among Us.
Oh yes, so we will definitely have to be doing something with that.
Yeah, that's down the
line.
Hopefully
that'll be soon. Sooner or later, right?
Yeah, I don't want to wait 5 more years, but no, I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.